Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin, and this is Horsepower Obsessed. Alright, so for those of you who can't tell, I'm actually fighting off a little bit of a cold here, but I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple different things C8 related that I had come across, so let's just get right into it. As of today, January 10th, we are now 4 days away from this supposed surprise reveal at the North American International Auto Show. Zerv02 on the Corvette forum told us to watch out for this, and as of right now, it goes against everything I believe that this car is going to stand for to actually have any kind of surprise show. Honestly, I'd be thrilled to actually see it in 4 days. I think that would be amazing, but at the same time, I'm not going to hold my breath. A user on the midenginecorvetteforum.com shared an article stating that the C8R starts racing in the 2020 calendar year. He goes on to say that basically the C7R is finishing up and its next car is going to be announced in 2020. So this kind of paints a picture for us as to when we can maybe expect to see the C8 mid-engine Corvette for sale. Typically, these two go fairly closely hand in hand. You're not really going to see the C8R until the C8 mid-engine has been released for consumers or at least announced. So this kind of starts to show when we might be able to expect to actually see this car. Now, this user on the forum goes on to say a little bit later that this is actually the third source reporting that the C8R is coming in the 2020 calendar year. I will link it in the description down below so you guys can definitely go over there and check it out if you need any further information on this, but there's a lot of interesting reading that happened on this forum, so I'll put it in the description down below. Like I said, go ahead, check it out. I'm just kind of giving you a quick overview, letting you know that this car is likely to be racing in the 2020 calendar year. I'll throw out the details there so you guys can go over and actually read everything over from there. Now, of course, with this being said, it makes more sense as to why we saw the C8R racing at night. I'll put that video in here as I'm talking about this just so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Basically, they've been testing this car out on the track specifically for the fact that we're about to see it. So, I mean, it's got to be ready to go here in less than a year. But anyway, moving right along to the next interesting little bit of information I have. Apparently, some of the build codes for the next Corvette were leaked online. They carry the name 1YC07 and 1YC67. Now, while this doesn't necessarily say, hey, this is for the mid-engine C8 Corvette, it does show that there is a new Corvette arriving next year. Everything we already know we can expect the C8 Corvette here coming pretty soon, so odds are good these codes are for the C8 mid-engine Corvette and not necessarily just another model of the C7 Corvette. Now, with that being said, the same kind of codes are used for the C7 Corvette as well. For example, the current Grand Sport uses 1YW and 1YZ for the Z06, as well as 1YV for the ZR1. Basically, the 1YC could designate a new variant of the existing Corvette, but like I said, it's likely to be the C8 mid-engine Corvette. And as usual, as with everything I report, I'm going to put all the links down in the description below so you guys can definitely head over to these sites and check them out. The midengineforum.com, Corvette Blogger, Motor1.com, they're all great sources of information for the C8 mid-engine stuff. I'll put them in the description. Definitely feel free to go check them out because, like I said, great wealth of knowledge for this stuff. Another interesting piece of knowledge I found here was an actual quick video that was taken in Michigan showing the spy shot car we saw a couple weeks ago actually on the move. Now, the weirdest thing here is if you look at the front bumper, it looks very strange. Almost like it has that same molding around the front lip that we saw in previous leaks, but this one almost looks like it's even further pulled back. I don't know if this is actually a design of the car or if this is GM's attempt at trying to keep any additional styling under wraps, so to speak. But either way, it's an interesting shot. It's hard to really hear any kind of engine sound, which tells me that the car's probably got some sort of muffling on its exhaust so you can't hear it. But it's definitely interesting to see this thing moving. Now, you actually get a little bit of a glimpse of the interior as well. It's hard to really see anything specific, but the windows aren't tinted or anything, so you can kind of see in there a little bit. Nothing really earth-shattering here, but it's definitely nice to see the car on the road. The front bumper is what really makes the biggest splash as far as I'm concerned. It definitely looks strange, and I hope it's GM's attempt at trying to cover it up, because if not, it really makes me wonder what kind of styling we're going to see in the final product here. Now, the final piece of information actually isn't anything about the C8 mid-engine Corvette specifically. It actually comes from topspeed.com, talking about the 2021 Cadillac Xlr Successor. I've mentioned this in a couple of my previous videos that odds are good Cadillac was going to try to do an Xlr Successor to the original, just because that was the only Cadillac that actually shared a chassis with the C6 Corvette at the time. We've already seen proof of the Cadillac key being the same as the Corvette mid-engine key, so odds are good we're going to see a mid-engine Cadillac at some point. We've also even seen a V8 engine designed for mid-engine use with the Cadillac's name on it. And on the topspeed.com website, they actually go into a couple different renderings, which I'm going to show here. They're actually not bad looking. This particular one is obviously a convertible, but it doesn't look too bad. It actually has a fairly nice looking design to it. And of course it is a rendering, so I mean, when it comes out, it could look nothing like this. But there's a lot of information pointing to the fact that we are going to get a mid-engine Cadillac at some point, possibly right alongside the C8 mid-engine Corvette. And of course, GM is going in a direction now where they want to set up their Cadillac line to sit atop the GM division. So what better way than to design a brand new mid-engine convertible style Cadillac? Now me, I'm not a huge Cadillac fan. I obviously would much rather see a really nice sporty looking Corvette. But at the same time, it is interesting because obviously Cadillac is going to be borrowing a lot of the design and even the framework from the mid-engine Corvette. So even though this isn't specifically Corvette related, this still gives us a glimpse into what GM is planning to do with these cars. Now, lastly, I'm going to share a couple renderings, again, done by Chaz Cron over at the midenginecorvetteforum.com. These most recent renderings are really getting to the point where he has basically rendered a full car. Everything on this rendering is showing the front lips, the LED daytime running lights, the grille, the angle to the front bumper, the rims, even as far down to the rotors and the calipers. So, I mean, this is a full rendering of the car. Everything is done, touched up at this point. Based on the car that we've seen and underneath what the camo could possibly look like, this is probably it. When the car finally comes out, the only things that aren't going to be 100% for sure in these renderings are going to be the headlights and the taillights, just because we can't really see them. Now, with that being said, of course, GM could be hiding the design of this car underneath that camo wrap, and we may not know anything about what the car is even going to look like. So these renderings are always to be taken with a grain of salt, because as much as this looks like the car that we're probably going to get based on the camo wrap car that I've seen, there's no guarantee that GM hasn't altered the shape of that car underneath that wrap just to throw people off. Now, of course, that sounds like a lot of work and sounds like not necessarily something they have to do, but literally there's no way to know until we actually finally see this car. Now, again, according to Zerv02 on the Corvette forum, we're going to see this car here really soon. So if that's the case, I'm excited. I'm very pumped about the possibility of seeing this car so soon, and I hope it happens. But like I said, I'm not going to hold my breath, and I would recommend you don't either. Now, of course, I can't leave out my two favorite renderings of this C8 mid-engine Corvette so far, so I'm going to put them both in here. The orange one just looks absolutely phenomenal. I would be totally fine getting a C8 mid-engine Corvette that looked like that. I mean, that is just a great-looking car. It has so many nice lines on it, and it is really well done. Now, this blue one, I've heard a lot of people talk about how nice this is for a rendering, and honestly, if the car came out and looked like that, like I said before, sign me up. I'm ready to take that car right now. A lot of the other renderings, the Chaz Cron rendering, even though I can appreciate how much time has gone into it and everything, it's still not one of my favorite looking renderings. The orange one or this blue one, knock it out of the park for me. I mean, that would be a car I would, without a doubt, I would want that car. Hopefully, that's what we get. I would much rather have the orange or blue design here. I got my fingers crossed that one of the models we end up getting looks something like that. Now, the Chaz Cron renderings, of course, they could just be a base model car that we're seeing now. We've talked a lot about this. Unfortunately, there's not a way to really know for sure what GM is planning with this. We do know, based on some limited knowledge that supposedly came from an inside source, that we're going to get a base model, then a GT, then a GS, possibly all the way up to a ZR1 at some point. So we're talking about potentially 4 very different design cars. And if that's the case, then the Chaz Cron design we're seeing now, even though it's not my favorite, could possibly be the base model. Maybe that this orange or blue rendering that's really one of my favorites, that could be the Grand Sport or ZR1 model. So there's a lot of variables here. There's a lot of things that are still up in the air, but of course, like I said, the renderings that are circulating right now, some of them are just fantastic. The amount of effort that has gone into this is just incredible. And I'm so proud and so happy to be part of a Corvette community that really spends this much time literally on nothing more than speculation. Now, of course, I say speculation, but it's because we're all excited. The Corvette community in general, it's always exciting to get a new Corvette. And we're literally in the middle of getting a new one right now. So the speculation is almost fun. Now, I'm actually going to leave you with a final 3D rendering, again from Chaz Cron, literally showing the car spinning, giving you the best look at what this car could possibly look like. So I hope you guys enjoy the rendering. Give me a big thumbs up if you liked the video. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I'd love to have you guys as part of the Horsepower Obsessed community. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next upload.